Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Today's video is regarding the Bryan Kohberger case and his white Elantra and his fog lights, or lack thereof, fog lights on his vehicle. Now, we know that Bryan Kohberger used his vehicle prior to killing Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, and Xander Konodal on November 13th, 2022 in Moscow, Idaho at 1122 King Road. The camera footage that we always see is from 1112 King Road in that area, but the camera footage is so blown out when the lights come by you can't tell regarding the fog lights. However, in the probable cause document that was originally put out, this is what it said. Investigators were given access to video footage on Washington State University campus. Now, I obtained all of these videos that we're looking at here through a FOIA request to Washington State University. Originally, they said they didn't have them, and then it was back and forth with the Moscow Police Department, and eventually the university was able to locate the footage that was originally used in the case. And then I was finally sent all of the videos, and I put those out recently. Investigators were given access to video footage on the Washington State University campus located in Pullman, Washington. A review of that video indicated that at approximately 2:44, that's what we were just looking at, on November 13, 2022, a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed on WSU surveillance cameras traveling north on Southeast Nevada Street at Northeast Stadium Way at approximately 2:53 a.m., a white sedan, which is consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed traveling southeast on Nevada Street in Pullman, Washington, towards SR 270. SR 270 connects Pullman, Washington to Moscow, Idaho, and it's also Main Street. At approximately 5:25 a.m., the white sedan, which is consistent with the description of Vehicle 1, was observed on 5 cameras in Pullman, Washington on WSU cameras. Now, we have those too. So if you take a look at the footage from around 2:44 in the morning, this is at Nevada, and it's northbound camera. So if you take a look at this, you see that these are the headlights, and then there's these lights down there, which appear to be the fog lights. So if we look at an image of a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra, there are the fog lights. When they exist, they look like that. So we see that. And then there were the claims made that Bryan Kohberger's vehicle doesn't have fog lights. And it's interesting because in the impound lot, or the evidentiary lot where they put the vehicle after they arrested Kohberger, you look at it, and these certainly are not lights right here. These are inserts that cover the hole where a light might have been if you had ordered it. And look, if you look at this, it almost looks like the exact same thing. See that? Let me zoom out. I think it fits right in there, and these are to cover the hole where the fog lights would be if you didn't get that option put on your vehicle. So that's what we see there. Okay, so now we're going to move forward through all the different surveillance footage here. And here's another shot, and this one is at 2:52, so right around that 2:53 that they're talking about. It's right there. You can see even clear that the fog lights are on right there. All right, now on to the next one. This is when it's pulling into, after it's been on Indian Hills Drive, and it's driving by the A&W at the Sunset Mart. You can see right there, it's just dark. It's dark in there. Now, you might think in that image, like, okay, maybe the lights just aren't on, but there's no reflective value of any kind. It's just dark right there. Then we're going to move forward. These are the only times you can see it. And in here you can see the fog lights are not on. It's blurry, but you can sort of see this dark area here. And let's move forward. This one's a hell of a lot clearer. Now look at that one. You see the dark area. And that would match more like this. See that look? Just like that. And then we'll move forward again. And this is when the car returns back to Pullman, Washington. Now look right here. That looks very similar. This is at 5/20/8/37. That looks incredibly similar to this. Just dark there. And move on to the next one. And this one's really clear. This is in Pullman when it's turning on Cougar Way. That one right there indicates that that insert is put in there, and that is not a fog light. All of this is interesting to me. And here's another one. This is at 9 in the morning when it came back. You can see right there, it has the insert. Now, the people that are pretending this is really crucial information, it just isn't. They said it was consistent with the vehicle, and they didn't, they don't say it is. And in fact, they weren't even going to use the 244 and 253 footage at trial. So let's take a look at that. Here is the exhibit list. And right here, it talks about these different cameras, Paradise Drive. These are all the different cameras that are used in the case. I have all of this footage. The only one I don't have still is Floyd's Cannabis Shop, and I'm the one that purchased getting that, so I'll have first access to it. Right here is WSU, Stadium Way, and Nevada. And see how it's at 527? They don't put the 244 or 253 time frame in there. They're going to rely on the pings of his phone, and I think they probably determined that they can't really explain why that vehicle has fog lights. Now, what's incredible about it is it looks like exactly the same vehicle, but it's looking like that vehicle is not Bryan Kohberger's vehicle, given the fact that it had fog lights. Now, the covers that are put on the vehicle are not to cover the fog light that's in existence, but it's to just fill the hole. So I wrote up here, I asked ChatGPT, can these be installed on top of the existing light itself? And it says the solid black fog light covers for a 2015 Hyundai Elantra are not designed to be installed on top of an existing fog light. They replace the entire fog light bezel area, not overlay it. What these black covers actually are, all the fog light covers sold for the 2014 through 2016 Elantra are full bezels, not caps. They install in the bumper in place of the fog light assembly. So it's just to replace it, just so there isn't this hole in the vehicle. And they're shaped to fill the fog light opening. They are not snap-on caps, stickers, overlays, protective shields that go over a fog light. Instead, they are bumper inserts, fog light delete panels, OEM replacement bezels. This means if your Elantra currently has fog lights, you'd have to remove the fog light, remove the factory bezel, install the blackout bezel in its place. And that would take a while, okay? So it isn't like he had his car and then he took out the lights and then put that in. I guess he could have jerry-rigged something so it was really flimsily attached and then took it off and then replaced it really quick just to make a variance on his vehicle. Just like his license plate and the bra that he put on the front of it. Why they can't be installed on top of the fog light? They are solid plastic, no opening, so light can't even go through them. Putting them over the light would block the lens and not physically fit because the fog light protrudes outward. Mounting tabs don't line up with the light. These covers attach to the bumper, not the light housing. No tabs or clips are designed to lock into the light itself. The depth clearance is not there. Fog light extend forward. The solid black bezels sit flush with the bumper. There is no cavity for the existing light. I think what we're finding out here is that that vehicle, amazing as it is, because his phone was pinging right in that same area, might not be Bryan Kohberger. It's actually looking more likely that it isn't his white Elantra, which is pretty crazy. But it's almost irrelevant to the case because it has nothing to do with the other white Elantra. Everybody's saying, see, look, all these other shots, it doesn't have the fog light. Well, okay, well, great. Now you're admitting that's Kohberger's vehicle, right? I mean, his phone pinged, it turned off at 2:54 in southeast Pullman, Washington, and then it turns on south of Moscow, Idaho again at around 4:47. And then his DNA was found on the sheath, and he's admitted to doing the crime. So obviously, the surveillance footage that we see of the vehicle driving around after 2:54, let's say, is his vehicle. Now, the Floyd's Cannabis Shop one, that one's going to be interesting because if the other vehicle isn't his, can we determine in the Floyd's Cannabis Shop, it's going to be from a distance, does it have fog lights on? And you would think it didn't have fog lights on. And you can turn fog lights off, by the way. But that's not what Kohberger appears to have in his vehicle. So let's keep going through some of these images here. That one's really clear when he comes back at 9, I think this is, 9:13 in the morning. He's got the insert there. And so right here where he's in Kate's Cup of Joe area and the chef store, you can see now there is a right over here, if you kind of scroll forward, you see that? You can make out that it's got that black insert right over here. See that? Right there, that's a really good angle right there. You can see it. Got kind of that L shape that you get. And that's really similar to this, just on the other side of the car. Right there. And so that's the last shot that seems clear that you can see. Now, there's probably surveillance footage of his car coming back into the area, you would think, back to his house in the evening hours, but that's not used in the trial for an exhibit. So I guess we'll have to wait and see if that exists out there. So let's take a look at this last document here that shows that they weren't going to be using that footage, and it's not really significant in terms of the probable cause document. It was a vehicle, but his phone was pinging in that area, and all of the other looping around the house and the DNA on the knife sheath are the key elements of the probable cause document. The probable cause document in this case was one of the most damning probable cause documents I've ever read. So if you look down in here, they have all the different cameras that they used, all of them. And when you scroll down, they start the evening at Indian Hills Drive with their surveillance here. They don't even start off at 2:44, but they do mention later on the 5. So if we scroll way down here, see that? 5:29, 5:29. These are all these different areas. You have Stadium Way and Wilson, Cougar. See, these are all the ones I got. Nevada, Grimes, Wilson, and Cougar. And they didn't put the 2:44 time frame at the beginning up here. So they likely weren't going to be using that at trial. And yet, and the defense knew that. And yet, Kohberger still confessed to doing the crime and is going to be spending the rest of his life in prison. And you might also notice that they don't have Floyd's Cannabis Shop. So I don't know if there's an issue with that either, but that's not here. However, it is on an exhibit list, so it does appear that they're using that at trial, but it just wasn't in this particular document right here. All right, so I think I'm leaning towards that first vehicle at 2:44 and 2:53 not being his vehicle. All right, well, there you have it. I think all the information that we've put together here strongly indicates that the vehicle that was seen on the WSU cameras at 2:44 and 2:53-ish, or 2:52, is not Bryan Kohberger's vehicle. However, if you look at these shots right here, it's just startling. You know, they're different angles, so just keep that in mind. But apparently this is Kohberger's vehicle at 5:28:37. You can see that it doesn't have fog lights. And this one's at 2:52 in the morning and obviously has fog lights. Now look at the rear shot here, almost identical. Same light structure, etc. It appears that the vehicle at 2:44 is a white Hyundai Elantra 2014 to 2016. It's pretty incredible that it's in the same area of Pullman, Washington at the same time that Kohberger's phone is pinging in the area. Maybe there's an explanation for it. I don't know, but at this point, it's hard to reconcile that that vehicle was Kohberger's. Now, we know it wasn't going to be used at trial at all, so they likely, it had no bearing on the case. It was in the probable cause document, but it was an insignificant portion of the probable cause document. The main portions there were the DNA on the knife sheath and the white Elantra driving around the house area there, and that one appears to be missing its fog light. It doesn't have one. So it's very interesting, but it has very little to zero impact on the case at all, because as you can see, every other shot actually verifies that the vehicle is Kohberger's, because it's missing a front plate and it is missing the fog light in all the other shots, even the one where we can verify Kohberger is in the vehicle in Clarkston, Washington. And isn't it just amazing that in both these shots here, there is no front license plate? And the lighting there is absolutely the same. Unbelievable. Anyways, the conclusion is that it's very likely that that vehicle at 2:44 in the morning is not Kohberger's, unless they can come up with a great explanation of why he had fog lights at 2:44 and why he didn't have fog lights every time after that. All right, well, if you guys can do me a favor and hit that like button for me, I'd really appreciate it. Share the video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.